We begin here in Japan, where the Olympic flame has begun its journey across the nation after a year-long delay caused by the coronavirus pandemic. This relay will be unlike any before it, traveling through all 47 prefectures, but under tight antivirus measures. It kicked off Thursday morning in the northeastern prefecture of Fukushima, which was devastated by the 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear accident. Officials at the departure ceremony said they hope to showcase the region's recovery and the people's will to overcome the pandemic.
I hope the Olympic flame of the Tokyo Games will light up hopes around Japan one by one, with its sacred, powerful, and warm shine.
The flame was brought to Japan from Greece last March. It was picked up by the relay's first runners, members of Nadeshiko Japan. The national women's soccer team won the 2011 World Cup soon after disaster struck. Some who were forced to evacuate their hometowns will carry the flame. That includes this man.
I ran in the hopes of showing the world how much energy people in the disaster-hit areas have.
The runners passed through crowds of masked spectators who'd been asked to refrain from loudly cheering. And they ended the day at a ceremony. Over the coming months, about 10,000 people plan to carry the torch. But more than 90 runners, including some high-profile people, have pulled out. Most made the decision because of scheduling changes. Others cited infection concerns. The 121-day journey is scheduled to end at the National Stadium in Tokyo on July 23rd, just in time for the opening ceremonies. Well, that flame of hope can't erase the long shadow the pandemic is casting across Japan. Many communities are becoming increasingly worried about a spike in cases coinciding with a season known for crowded events. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government reported nearly 400 new cases on Thursday. It's the sixth straight day daily figures have surpassed those from a week earlier. Experts are worried people are heading to the city center now that the state of emergency is over. With more contagious variant strains spreading, they say they're at high risk of another outbreak.
The cherry blossoms are in full bloom, but please avoid having flower viewing parties this coming weekend so we can prevent another spike in cases.
North of the capital, Miyagi has called its own state of emergency. It's forced major events to be scaled down in the middle of graduation season, and thousands of students are missing out.
We had to give up celebrating a big moment in our lives without any way to express our emotions. I just hope for an end of the pandemic.
The prefecture has seen record case numbers this week. Its capital city is urging restaurants and bars to close earlier. But that's a difficult ask for businesses who've already endured so much.
I just hope that somehow the lunchtime service will go well.
The uptick in cases is also being seen in the West. Ehime Prefecture reported 59 new infections, an all-time high.
Our prefecture has entered a fourth wave of infections, with new variants spreading. I am effectively declaring an independent state of emergency.
Across Japan, officials confirmed more than 1,900 new cases on Thursday. Nearly 9,000 people have died since the pandemic began. A fatal tunnel collapse in 2012 on an expressway west of Tokyo left 9 people dead. Now the expressway operator has opened a training facility to help its employees learn about what went wrong. The accident in Yamanashi Prefecture occurred when a 140-meter section of the tunnel's concrete ceiling collapsed. Central Nippon Expressway Company has recreated the scene using actual ceiling panels and hanging rods that fell in the accident. Also on display are mementos of victims, a crushed vehicle that burst into flames, a wristwatch that stopped at the time of the accident, and a mobile phone that melted in the fire. Family members of the victims attended the opening and listened to explanations about the tunnel's structure and components.
I hope the employees learn from this so more accidents don't happen. I also hope they'll make further efforts to cultivate the ability to look ahead and anticipate risks.
The operator says it wants to make sure such an accident never happens again. We turn now to the latest provocations by North Korea. The country launched ballistic missiles on Thursday, and its neighbors are expressing deep concern. Officials in Japan say the two missiles were launched at around 7 a.m. Japan time. They flew more than 400 kilometers, then fell in waters believed to be outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. North Korea is banned from testing long-range ballistic missiles because they pose a significant global threat. It reportedly fired two short-range cruise missiles last weekend. The top diplomats of South Korea and Russia held talks soon after North Korea's missile launches on Thursday.
I express deep concern over North Korea's launch of what appear to be short-range ballistic missiles, while our government is making various efforts to pursue over-fulfillment of complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
Chung asked Russia to play a constructive role in dealing with the North.
We place special emphasis on the importance of efforts to maintain a peaceful and stable situation in Northeast Asia, including the Korean Peninsula. This means all related countries need to abandon an arms race and escalation of military activities of any form.
Russia has friendly ties with North Korea. In 2019, President Vladimir Putin invited the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to their first one-on-one meeting. South Korea appears eager to seek cooperation from Russia to move forward the process of reunification. That's a high priority for South Korean President Moon Jae-in. Swedish clothing retailer H&M and other foreign brands are facing growing calls for a boycott in China over their stance on alleged human rights abuses of Uyghurs. Many posts on Chinese social media are calling on consumers not to buy H&M products. The firm has also been removed from a major e-commerce website. H&M announced last September it would no longer procure cotton from the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The firm cited accusations Chinese suppliers were benefiting from forced labor by Uyghurs. The criticism came after the European Union acted along with the United States, Britain, and Canada to impose sanctions on China over its treatment of Uyghur Muslims.
The so-called forced labor in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region is fictional. It does not exist. Chinese consumers have taken action against corporate business decisions based on such false information.
In retaliation, Beijing announced its own sanctions against EU lawmakers and organizations. Nike and Adidas are also facing a barrage of criticism on Chinese social media after announcing they will not procure materials from the autonomous region. In other news, the United Nations has urged Myanmar's military once again to stop its suppression of civilians. The military has strengthened its crackdown ahead of an Armed Forces Day ceremony this weekend. Despite pressure from authorities, demonstrators took to the streets again on Thursday in the second largest city of Mandalay. This comes a day after a nationwide silent strike against the coup, in which they stayed home and left the streets empty. A local human rights group says at least 286 people, including children, have been killed by security forces since the coup on February 1st. Now, state-run media reported more than 600 anti-coup demonstrators were released on Wednesday. The move comes just days before the junta is due to mark Armed Forces Day on Saturday with a major military parade in the capital, Naypyidaw. On the same day as the release, state TV aired footage of a large-scale rehearsal. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called on the military to exercise maximum restraint ahead of the event. The Japanese owner of a massive container ship that ran aground in the Suez Canal says it'll be extremely difficult to refloat the vessel. The accident has been preventing boats on either side from passing through one of the world's most important shipping routes. The Ever Given became stranded after being blown off course during a dust storm. The 400-meter-long vessel is owned by Shoei Kisen and operated by Taiwan's Evergreen Marine Corporation. About 150 ships have been idled. The Suez Canal Authority temporarily suspended all traffic on Thursday as tugboats and salvage ships tried to move the container ship. Officials have not said when shipping will resume. In a statement, Shoei Kisen said it will continue to make all-out efforts to refloat the vessel together with local authorities and the company that manages it. It added there are no reports of any oil spills at this point. More than 18,000 vessels navigate every year through the Suez Canal, which provides the shortest shipping route between Europe and Asia. Next in weather, warmer conditions are expected to return for the weekend here in Japan, but we may also see a spring storm. Our meteorologist Jonathan O has more on the outlook for here and elsewhere in our World Weather Report.
Hello, it looks like that we're going to see a calm couple of days for Friday and Saturday, but then as we go into Sunday, it looks like a spring storm will be moving its way across Japan. We had a low-pressure system that was moving near Japan, and that helped to bring some clouds and even some showers into Tokyo as we went through Thursday, but high pressure coming in, and that's going to really keep things clear and sunny. So if you're looking forward to what's more like May as opposed to late March, you'll enjoy the next couple of days for Friday into Saturday as we have some really dry weather and relatively clear skies. Again, we're looking at some stormier weather coming up on Sunday from Tokyo into Fukuoka. It's interesting because we've seen at least a couple of weekends of some rain and some storms. This is another spring storm, so it's going to be the third weekend where we'll be seeing that, so be on the lookout for that. Meanwhile, we're talking about a much more serious spring storm over in the United States, and I want to really point this out to you in the southern areas of the country. You may notice these clouds that are like streaking across Texas, and I want to show you the radar from the overnight period into Thursday morning where you'll notice these storms firing up with these cells. These are areas of some strong thunderstorms, and we are concerned about the possibility of seeing severe thunderstorms. This low pressure system that has been really roaring out of the Rockies and down to the plains will continue to generate a lot of energy, bringing in that southerly flow. So there is a high risk for severe thunderstorms, which is the highest category that's designated by the Storm Prediction Center in the United States. We are looking at strong tornadoes, destructive winds, and very large hail as the risks for those located in the Deep South, particularly for those of you in Alabama, Mississippi, and also into Tennessee. So keep an eye out on your weather situation because things can change relatively quickly where you're located. On Friday, the focal point shifts toward the Carolinas, so you want to also keep an eye out for that as we go through the day.
China's foreign ministry urges the United States not to remove Chinese companies from U.S. stock exchanges if they do not observe U.S. accounting rules. The Japanese owner of the container ship blocking traffic on Egypt's Suez Canal apologizes for the incident. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission reports that Eritrean soldiers killed more than 100 civilians in Ethiopia's Tigray area in November. And the torch relay ceremony begins in Japan for the delayed 2020 Olympics. The Tokyo Games are to start on July 23rd.
European Union leaders are holding a virtual summit on coronavirus vaccine supplies. They're also discussing speeding up their inoculation campaigns and toughening export controls as a third wave of the pandemic gathers momentum. H&M is facing a backlash and possible boycott from China over past comments about forced labor camps for minority Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. Nike is also facing an irate response on Chinese social media for the same reason. Marine and salvage engineers in Egypt have failed in their latest attempt to refloat a huge container ship that's blocked the Suez Canal for the past 2 days. The vessel, the Ever Given, was blown off course by higher winds. The Olympic torch has started its 4th-month journey around Japan before heading to Tokyo for the delayed opening ceremony of the 2020 Summer Games.